OpTic find a map. It's a best of 3, and they were painted as clear underdogs, but it does prove that these Danes have somewhat of a bite. The cornered beast bites the hardest, and OpTic do manage to pick themselves up the first in a game where they are on the ropes. An elimination battle between them and the Ninjas, and the Pajama Ninjas look like they're being put to sleep, or at least they put us to sleep here on Mirage. I have Jacob and Chad joining me. Gentlemen, OpTic doing something. Jacob starts off.
We saw Yugi and Config playing up to the absolute best, and that's absolutely two of the most important win conditions for OpTic to have a chance in this best of 3. So they got off to a good start, and I think we saw like a very high pace from OpTic, and trying to control the game from the very get-go, and that's what Snappy and in general Danish in-game leaders like to do. MSL is one of the other guys who likes to do it as well. Now also having Rucker as the coach, it maybe like goes down through the chemistry of the team that they want to play fast-paced Counter-Strike, they want to take control of the rounds, and they want to make sure it either goes like well quickly or goes to hell quickly.
It did look like it was going to be a very back and forth affair in the first, 3 or 4 rounds there, but obviously when the guys from Heroic, look at me doing that.
What have you done?
From OpTic were able to get going in the right direction. I think the pace is the main key here that Jacob's talking about, and NiP, I thought they'd solved the puzzle when they had the brawl round in the mid and they actually shut it down. It came down to a 2-on-2, a scenario like that, and then they came out on top. I thought, okay, they've cracked the code. They forced them to play slow to the defaults. At that point, you saw the transition come in from OpTic. They were playing slower. They were doing the spread pick. The individual duels were coming in the favor of the NiP players. And then Snappy just went, well, let's go back to the fast plays. There was no answers from NiP. They didn't know what to do. They were chasing their tail. And I think that's the key, right? The pace in that first half. You flip over to the second half, they only got 1 round, NiP. And that was off Forest getting 3 kills on 10 HP. He should have never been able to get away with that. Like when Dennis's call is on pistol round, hey guys, let's throw some smokes at A. Because I'm the pistol god, I'm going to go out and try and kill someone. And Snappy had him booked. Snappy was like, we're not rotating, we're not going anywhere. From that point, I was like, NiP, they're up struggle street on this T half.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when you take a look at the scoreboard as well, I mean, this is the dream scenario. I mean, I know you already mentioned that Yugi and Config were firing on all cylinders, but actually, like, Snappy had nearly 100 ADR as well. Somehow, some way, 16 frags, 100 ADR, he was providing in every round that they competed in. It's actually quite a scary concept when, and I guess the question is going to be with many teams which revolve around 1 or 2 fraggers. When that doesn't happen, what do OpTic have to fall back on? Is it going to be Snappy's calls? Have you played under Snappy at all?
I've never played under Snappy, no, but I know a lot of my former teammates and current teammates when I played Hat, and he's the guy who likes to, as I said, like he's a Danish in-game leader. He likes to play fast and he likes to have it very structured. So when it seems like OpTic are just rushing around, it's as Janko said yesterday with Renegades, there's always a plan behind it. There's always a certain flash or a certain smoke that is planned into the play. So he's a very clever guy and a very great in-game leader, and often praised by being one of the best individual in-game leaders as well. And it's kind of fun to see him go up against Dennis, who is his counterpart in that sense. He's also a very great individual player, now also the in-game leader. But I do believe Snappy on the mental game at least is a little bit ahead of Dennis.
I'm just surprised NiP's T side was so weak in their approach. It came down to calls where it was, let's just send 5 guys mid and hope we win duels. I think a standout for me was the fact that Yugi was getting it done with the AK as well. It wasn't just AWP. He had some absolute bangers of shots in late 2v2 after plants, so this is a really positive sign that he's found his feet, because remember, he had that off period. He was out for like 2 months. We were sitting there in the Pro League going, where the hell's Yugi? Come back, put up big numbers. He did the stand-in thing for Heroic. Now he's here for OpTic and looking just as good as when he left.
It's a quick rise to power from him, isn't it? Going to like joining Heroic. Wait, what? Who's this Yugi fellow? Wait, what? He's the best player. He's their win condition. Where's Yugi? We miss him. Stands in. Now he's in OpTic Gaming. Probably got a really nice juicy salary and is living it up. Now he just has to put pen to paper and start hitting some headshots. Now we do have a nice opportunity to hear from the new OpTic coach. You heard about it from our analysts. We get to hear about it from Stunner and Rugger standing by.
It's got a nice little ring to it, Alex. I think a Stunner, Rugger, it does kind of make sense, if we look at it. Either way, yes, you have rejoined the ranks of OpTic here. You've worked with some of these guys in the past. Talk to me about coming back on board here.
I'm happy that especially I got to work with some of my former players. I think we had like some unfinished business after, some of us aren't a part of the North lineup anymore. So I think we have our work cut out for us, because we want to show that we are still capable of being among the best.
Well, somebody has to take that sort of throne away from, not Australian. Jesus, the Danish CS. That was a little tough for me, but we're going to move on. How about this? Mirage, your pick. You guys just took a command and control there. Really heavy scoreline in your favor. What went right?
I think we took them a little like off guard with our quick pace T-side. So I think they needed like 6 or 7 rounds to adapt to it. And when they got a hold of like what we're doing, it got a little bit like harder. But in the end, we won the right clutches and we won some pistol rounds, and that helps as well. So.
Pistol rounds do go a long way. That is absolutely correct. Now, we're going to flip the script a little bit. We're going into Inferno. That is NiP's pick. Anything prepared? Anything up your sleeve here?
Yeah, I think like Inferno is one of our own sleeper picks, so I was pretty surprised that they picked it, because on paper they should like prefer train and overpass over it. But I've been watching a lot of demos of them and also the game yesterday, and I think we have a pretty good game plan.
Pretty good game plan. Well, that might be what it takes exactly indeed. But to continue to break this one down further and get us into the game, we're going to throw it back to Alex and the boys at the desk.
Thank you so much. Yes, I like the idea of unfinished business, and good to see Rugger there. I think he shaved yesterday as well, so you can see it's just a fresh face for him.
The Viking beards grow relatively quickly.
I do remember when I was in Poland and he did shave for day 1, and by the end of the event, he looked like that. It was like a 5-day growth process. I don't know what's in those Viking genes. I mean, Jacob
can't do it.
No, Jacob shaves after every segment. This is what's happened actually between the pre and the post match. It's crazy, those damn Danes. Anyway, sidetracked by facial hair. That does seem to be an ability of mine. What's happening over there? Is that a B-Stream update?
Hot off the presses, Alex. B-Stream update right now. The 2 Australian teams going head-to-head. Renegades up against the ropes, but they've managed to grab that 15th round with a surging Greyhound 13 rounds of their own. Could be an overtime over there.
15 to 13. You can find all of that on the B-Stream. Yes, indeed. Dick Stacey, a fan favorite, is in play. You can go ahead and check that on the B-Stream, and you can find that nice and easily. With all of that said, we're going into Inferno, and before we do talk about it, I'll be picking these guys' brains, albeit briefly. Let's quickly get a pro tip for the next map in the series.
Hey Future Pros! Today we travel to Inferno to give you a hot smoke. This smoke will land in Arch. You are visible to mid when throwing the smoke, so make sure you already have mid control before lining it up. To do this smoke, get in front of this broom. Then aim to this window and move your crosshair up to the highlighted area and then throw. This will block off anyone playing in or outside of Arch, but be careful as they might try to re-peek from Library.
Yes, Inferno. Now, Rugger just spoke to Stunner and told us he thinks Inferno is their perhaps a sleeper pick. Now, unfortunately for them, the 2 times they've most recently played Inferno was versus Renegades and EU United, and they have a total of 4 + 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rounds in 2 maps in total.
I watched the Renegades game.
How'd it go?
Look, it wasn't pretty. That was one of those 150 ping games.
Oh, so that's kind of a very big asterisk we have to put next to that, is that they were playing from Europe in a North American Pro League.
Yeah, it's not ideal, is it, by any means?
So my cocky delivery looks a bit stupid now.
A little bit.
It's a tiny
Like 50% stupid.
Yeah,
72.
I think if we just quickly dial back to when NiP played SK yesterday, we can look at a couple of the things that went down in that matchup. One of the things that stands out to me was the amount of wraps that SK were able to get over towards that A bomb site on the T side. They were doing it quite late round as well. When you look at NiP on their CT side, they can do that very potent double AWP setup, right? Rez over towards the B bomb site. He likes to pick it up. He's quite proficient with that. And obviously Draken over towards A, swinging around, likes to AWP quad, aggressive in halls. If they can get the double AWPs up, that could be a problem for the OpTic guys. But a game plan, you know, Config, he loves to be super aggressive across the map, and Yugi is really good on the T side AWP as well. So these are 2 things that aren't really looking in NiP's favor right now.
I think the biggest problem for OpTic in this one is the map Inferno itself. It doesn't really allow you to be fast-paced if NiP has a decent economy to shut that down. So it's very important for NiP to build up a great start and at least make sure they don't force into the early rounds, so they can build up the economy, have the grenades in order to shut down that fast pace. Because you heard Rugger said it himself, whenever whenever they were back to the fast pace, it worked out for them. But when they had to play slow and orchestrate and play like the organized team game, it didn't look too good for OpTic because it's still a new thing for them. So the map Inferno in general is just playing into favor of NiP.
So it's the fact that if you do manage to kind of get off to a flying start, there isn't going to be the 3 Molotovs and 2 smokes stopping you from doing something fast.
Oh, exactly. And they also have to be aware of that if they lose the pistol round, don't force up into the second and into the third round. Make sure that you have all the utility you need for the third round, because Inferno is one of those maps where you want the Molotovs, you want the smokes, and you want all the utility you can have.
It's something we'll keep our eye out for. And actually, talking about keeping our eye out for, I want to know which players. I'm going to give you both one player name to.
Yeah, all right. Well, I think yesterday when we saw NiP play Rez on the T side was hitting a lot of shots. He had quite a poor first showing there.
7 frags.
I'm thinking better scenes out of him in the second map, but NiP definitely going to need it if they want to take this to a third.
Looking to try and take it to a third, giving us Rez, a star player in his own right. Haven't seen it yet.
The easy pick for me would be Config, obviously, because he's going to be aggressive and he's always going to be a player. But I want to look towards Yugi in this one. I want to see how good he is at utilizing his AVP on Inferno, because it is one of those maps that is very hard to be a dominant AVP player on.
There they are, Rez and Yugi, your players to watch from our analysts, and it does look like it's time the fist bumps are in, and so are your casters, Elfish Guy and Moses, to guide you through.
Well, NiP 1 map away from elimination here at ESL Pro League, and that's not good. I'm just going to assume that they were still a little bit sleepy in that first map, but we're going to move on from it rather quickly as they got pretty much wiped off.
Yeah, well, moving on to their own map, that's going to be a little bit of a silver lining. Also starting off on the T side here, so maybe more of a chance to warm up into this map than what they had on the CT side. But already, OpTic trying to put the pressure on, playing aggressively into mid. That's been shut down, though, by NiP. A much better start to this map than what we saw on Mirage.
Those mid-aggression on the CT side on Pistron is always such a tenuous affair. Even if you get that opening kill, as we saw, it can fall apart so easy if you don't have a plan afterwards. Nicely done from Get Right and Rez to handle the danger, and now they just slow things down. Dennis is going to go back towards T-spawn. He wants to come up T-ramp and clear out any aggression that's in mid. Want to make sure they're not getting flanked out. That's going to put some pressure on Yugi, but he definitely hears these footsteps. Yeah. Dennis is going to need some help.
Yugi's in a very interesting position here. If he finds a kill, he's really going to be able to lock down the map. And he actually does manage to get that kill onto Dennis. Now NiP have some thinking to do. They will challenge into mid again. And Yugi, well, he gets a lot of damage, not quite able to get the frag across there, but might have done enough, actually, as OpTic still in the 2v1 here, but it's a doable 2v1.
It's just so tough for OpTic. Like, what do you choose to do from here? Cajun can either rotate towards the A bomb site or get aggressive, which is what he's choosing to do. So he's helping to shrink the map, but that puts a lot of pressure on Config. There's no real good answer to get these two players in the same spot to defend against this hit. So Config, as you said, Get Right with low HP. He's going to go out first. So an easy kill for Config. The follow-up would be great, and he's able to isolate these one-on-ones very well, buying time for Cajun to come in and maybe even just ending the round on his own, but it's Cajun from behind. But Config is the star in that 2 versus 3.
Yeah, well, he more or less really did shut that round down on his own. Obviously, Cajun was in there for the final blow, but that was all on the back of Config. Great work in pit. And OpTic, they come away with what was, I would say, a streaky pistol round there. It was kind of backwards and forwards, but some good work towards the end. And again, good signs for OpTic Gaming. I mean, they looked really good on Mirage, and NiP having dropped the pistol round there despite having an advantage. This is a decent start to the map for OpTic, and NiP, you mentioned earlier, this could be their last map here.
This is all 3 pistol rounds in this series won by OpTic Gaming so far. That's something NiP is going to look at if they end up losing this series and kind of shaking their head at. They'll have to work on it. Jade going to be spamming through with the UMP. Not too much damage dealt. Drake, it might have even been the Flames that does the damage to him, but he's going to start pushing up. And again, aggression down Banana. Snappy is down at the base behind the smoke. Allows Config to cheat over towards that A bomb site. This can't last for too long. When that smoke clears, though, Snappy's got nothing, and he'll either have to fall back or just kind of risk the aggressive nature.
At the moment, it looks like he wants to risk it. And I don't think that's necessarily a terrible decision here, really. We saw him do a lot of work on Mirage.
It just forces Config to rotate back over towards the B bomb site.
Now his position's given away as well, and he's very, very isolated. NiP can spring onto this, but the flashbang is in there from Config, and that's going to buy a little bit more time, allows him to finally get back in time. And, well, this really could go either way, but NiP, they eventually do get the better of Snappy. Config just milling around backwards and forwards, not able to give any backup there. And NiP now with the advantage that the rotation does come across from Cajun B, and he will be able to find a frag. That stabilizes things a little bit here for OpTic, and a great shot hit by Config. NiP, they're just not being decisive enough on this B bomb site. They've allowed OpTic to dictate how this round plays out. The bomb will go down, but in a 1 versus 3, Rez is going to need a miracle.
It almost feels unwinnable for him, but again, with that plant, they've got decent damage with 2 players down. Anything that Rez gets here is great. If he can win it, it'd be miraculous, but 1 to 2 more kills, and this is all of a sudden a very big success for NiP.
So, we'll see what Rez has for us. We've seen some good clutches from him already on Overpass. Here's another one presented quite early in map 2. The spray down, not quite there, but it almost got set up for him.
One of those situations where he's just like, man, if I only had an AK-47, the Galil just not doing enough damage. And I mean, he did miss a couple initial shots, but still had a chance to recover. 2-0 for OpTic, not a bad round from NiP. They've got decent money built up after that plant. SMG's out for OpTic Gaming. It looks like you imagine Yugi and Snappy going to be relatively aggressive again, but you can see the danger. That decision that Snappy has to make when that smoke clears is so important. Even just sticking around when they know he's there, they're just biding their time, and they know he's got to use ammo to keep them at the space. Config had an awkward peek at the top of Banana that he had to fall back from because NiP had already had the angle, and that really, really left Snappy in a difficult spot. Nade stack down mid doesn't yield results. So NiP is going to be able to go into the mid-round taking minimal damage.
Yeah, well, getting tagged a little bit down by the spam here from OpTic. I'm a fan of the nade stack actually on Inferno. I think it's quite a fun little strategy. Never really works though, but it's always nice to see.
You never know when you're going to catch a team out, just kind of letting their focus slip and maybe getting towards the top of T-ramp too early. Now in the choke point, the nades have all been used, so these deagles are posted up quite nicely. Players of OpTic on either side. Missed shot from Dennis. Nicely done from Cajun B. He does eventually fall. They want to salvage that M4, but Yugi's not in a whole lot of trouble as he falls away.
Yeah, so slowing things down now in NiP. The smoke comes out.
Raken actually gets a kill over towards Banana. Snappy once again. I think that might have been through smoke.
Could have been. Draken still looking for another player there in Banana. I'm not sure that he actually knows Config is there, but this is still sort of hanging in the balance. Gade might just be able to shut things down there as he does get the kill on to Get Right. Had he dropped, it was going to start to look a bit more favorable for NiP, but right now with the player advantage and having floated the player across the A bomb site, it's looking pretty confident here now for the CT side. Forrest just waiting to see if he's going to be able to find a cheeky kill there, but now that his position is known, wouldn't expect anyone from OpTic to be crossing that line. And Drake can spot it out as well without getting the kill onto Gade. So time is ticking away right now, and NiP need to make their move into this bomb site if they're going to make anything happen. It's just Forrest left alive with 12 HP, and well, it would have been a tough shot to hit, but that was the only way that he was going to win that round, was if he hits that shot onto Yugi. In the end, he's run out of time, and OpTic close out 3.
And phenomenal damage done by NiP, though. This time, they don't even really invest in the armor. They just have the deagles, some CZ, so they force a lot of rebuys. So we're not going to see that monstrosity of an economy building for the OpTic side the way we did on Mirage. Early on, they're going to be kind of backs against the wall. It's not fully a reset territory, as Config has some built up from saving that Galil, and Yugi still has some left over, so does Cajun. But not ideal for the defensive side of things. NiP, 5 AK-47s, full kits of utility as well. We'll see if they prefer an AWP later on into this half. I don't know if they will. But Yugi at the moment has the aggressive stance, forced back by the Flames. So contesting for Banana early on.
Yeah, Config just ready with a flashbang by the looks of things as well to get Yugi out of here, but he's really under pressure right now. NiP not continuing the push on forward, and Yugi will be able to fall back behind the smoke. It was a little bit of a risky business for a moment there, but NiP now have got control of Banana, methodically working their way through the map control.
First stage is complete for NiP. Rez and Forrest, firm control of Banana. That's going to keep 2 players at this B bomb site, Config and Snappy. Yugi with that AWP has rotated back towards Library, towards that A bomb site. Config with a flash peek, sees nobody, doesn't get a whole lot of information, nothing that allows him to cheat over towards the A bomb site. And here's mid control for NiP now as they handle brackets with the smoke towards the left side.
Starting to look pretty good actually for NiP. Now they've forced both sites back into their respective sites. Now making their way over toward the B bomb site. A lot of utility still available here for NiP. That's going to be going straight into the B side. An incendiary down for OpTic to slow the progression of the T side, but still they're going to have to make something happen with these rifles, and it's a 1-for-1 trade. Not too bad just yet for NiP, and Snappy, with only the SMG, doesn't have the firepower to really cause any kind of a resistance. All under Yugi here, and he actually misses that shot. It looked like I thought he hit it. But in the end, 3 versus 4 for the retake on the B bomb side. I'm not sure about you, but I don't fancy the chances here.
Well, they should be calling a save, and I think they are going to. They don't even progress forward past the fence. So yeah, they bail out. That's a good call OpTic going for a conservative style to preserve the money that they do have. Not really a great chance of them getting back into this bomb site. Even with 2 kits, they just don't want to risk the AWP. That's a very nice take from NiP. These 3 players were stuck at the A bomb site for some extra time. Yugi was the rotator in library with that AWP, and even he doesn't get over very in any kind of timing to kind of help defend against that hit, mostly because Draken was left in middle. He was lurking, he made his presence known, and it kind of froze those rotations. So job done for him even without a kill. This bomb's going to explode to give NiP their first round.
Yeah, still though for OpTic, it is just 1 round, and they are going to be able to get the buy through here again in this one. Someone's going to be running away with a UMP or something like that. If I'm us, that'll do, I suppose.
I think the next time we see a round like that played out from NiP, you're going to see OpTic get aggressive towards brackets and try and clear Draken out of that position, because it looked like Gade was actually moving into his position to kind of do exactly that with 1 pop flash from a teammate from Pit, but he actually called it off at the last second, which allowed Draken to be effective. But if they go and clear that out early, they don't have to worry about that lurker at brackets.
Oh, well, another round presents itself. NiP this time not quite as easily able to get control of Banana, though they're still challenging for it. Get Right's very quick up into the apartments as well. No one there at the moment for OpTic. But if they push in, it looks like they might actually want to do. Could be problems. Still, the first kill goes the way of OpTic, and they're really not too keen to relinquish pressure on that Banana.
3 players at Banana for OpTic early on to net them that 1 kill and a tag onto Forest down to 18 HP. NiP, only 3 players really healthy enough to take fights, and they're going to have a very staunch defense. They have no control of Banana this round, so they're kind of resigned towards this hit over at A, or at least to probe it initially. See if they can get anything. Gate over in Graveyard. Cajun waiting to come through the smoke, and he's going to pounce just now. He gets 1 kill out of it, and there goes Forrest. He's cleaned up, and now they have to enter into 2 versus 5 scenario, and they are just getting demolished at this A bomb site. A great defensive hold from OpTic.
Yeah, awesome work. I mean, they get control of the map. They really choke NiP into that A bomb site, and then Cajun gets the perfect timing through the smoke, all but shutting the round down. Not to mention, obviously, the kill that Gade got, and the NiP, they just didn't look like they had anything in that round. And now they have nothing in this one, because the money is sort of 50-50. They will actually decide to buy into it, but it's going to be sort of 3 AKs, 2 CZs, not really where you want to be for NiP. Workable, at least, but OpTic off on the right foot here on Inferno.
It's clear that they want to establish Banana control, and they'll likely go back to it. Snappy and Config get a push out again. Flashbang from Cajun. Config, though, Molotov going to force him away from taking the deep angle. Smokes down towards the base of Banana, and they're just actually going to relinquish that control for free this round. They don't want to play with it whatsoever. So a new look for NiP to have to work around. Imagine that 3rd player is going to cheat back, but a lot of pressure going to be applied out of these A-halls. Gade defending in the pit.
Well, the timing right now for OpTic is pretty critical. They've still got those 3 players over to B, but Yugi opening things up with the AWP, and Gade also spots out Get Right. That's all gone wrong for NiP. If they would have busted out onto that site with 5, there was just 2 players defending it, but now the control of the game is again in the hands of OpTic.
NiP get to the end of those halls, and it's not a bad idea. You kind of position yourself 1 player to pick off towards small pit. If it's an unsuspecting AWPer rotating back in towards the bomb site, 1 may be hoping that the pit player loses their focus. Get Right hoping that he peers his head up and he's able to get an easy shot. Obviously doesn't work that way. Smoke over towards the B bomb site. 2 defenders here, but I think Forrest is going to be the one that they want to kind of initiate the action. 1 kill to rotate 1 player from this B bomb site, and he's going to be neutralized with the smoke.
Yeah, well, Forrest is still keeping 3 players over on this A bomb site right now, and Yugi, the timing doesn't really work in his favor, as this has allowed Forrest out through Diggity. Gade might be the key here. If he goes down, actually, and those 2 players enter the B site quite safely for NiP, there could still be a chance for NiP, but Cajun getting a lot of information right now, and Forrest, his time is running out. He's gone, and it's just relying now on the 2. Config hits a good shot. Snappy's there for the crossfire, and it works out much better for OpTic than I theorized it might for NiP. In the end, though, a great round for the CTs.
It's so difficult for Forrest to make any kind of a play. There's so many different angles to watch, and he had to be aggressive with the time running out under 20 seconds when he was forced to make his move. He was hoping for a mistake from the OpTic side, but they could play it so patiently because Cajun, again, he's being aggressive on that wrap side. He's not allowing anyone to be comfortable and brackets in towards lane, so he flanks her out, really forces the hand of those B defenders, and great awareness from Yugi to check that angle as he rotates back. Get Right going for the punish, and Gade's able to get an easy one in the side of his head. 5-1, and a good timeout to take as NiP. They cannot afford to have an atrocious offensive side here. They need to get numbers up on the board.
Yeah, there's quite a bit to chat about actually for NiP, because across the board, OpTic have looked really good, both on the A bomb site and the B bomb site. They've both really been a stronghold right now for OpTic, and NiP have really struggled to get into both of them. I think they've only gotten one bomb down. And 2 bombs down.
The good work that they did early on in the second and third round to get some kills to kind of limit the money. And there's a TK. That's not anything you want to see. There was a TK as well. I think it was actually Draken onto Forest on Mirage. So maybe just returning the favor.
Cajun and Snappy getting a little bit aggressive there and almost punished for it. But in the end, there's just too many numbers for OpTic Gaming. And, well, NiP not going to get anything out of this round.
No, they are not. It's going to be a 3-round losing bonus. NiP will be able to buy off that. Still won't be able to have the AWP, but it's starting to get worrying for the Swedish side. 6-1. OpTic building a huge lead, building a huge bank as well. That double op setup again is just wreaking havoc on NiP.
Yeah, we saw it on Mirage, seeing it now on Inferno, and to be fair, I mean, I wouldn't have said Inferno is going to be as conducive to the double AWP as a map like Mirage would be, but OpTic are really finding a way to make it work. Yugi being very mobile from the A bomb site, all around, all angles on the A side, and just Config being able to lock down Banana. NiP need to find a way to deal with this, and their time is running out. That's 6-1 right now for OpTic. I mean, yes, there's time left in the half, but you don't want to be letting OpTic get off to a big start like this, particularly when you're a map down.
Oh, this is great from Yugi. Will he find a pick? How long will they hold this? Oh, he gets the tag on a Drake and out of 38 before he even progresses across the map. It's pretty telling the only round that NiP has won in this half so far is the one where they got banana control. They actually fought for it. They did have it later on when OpTic gave it up and played more passively, and that's when the ops kind of came out. And again, another boost coming in over towards Logs. Forrest being very cautious and just going to take a flick and fall away. A lot of utility being spent by NiP, utility they don't necessarily have, and again, these ops are going to start doing work as Forrest dry peaks, tries to bait out a shot, but Config's not falling for it. And again, a 5-on-3 for OpTic as NiP can't get any success early in the rounds.
Yeah, there's action on both sides of the map right now. Obviously, that fight over Banana, but while that's going on, OpTic decide to play aggressively into apartments, and Cajun catches off NiP. So, on both sides of the map, again, I have to say, OpTic are winning, and there's no opening at all for NiP. They need to figure something out. They used a lot of utility, like you said, to try and get control of Banana, which now means they've just got a smoke and a flashbang to work with here late in the round. Try and make their way into the A bomb site with a 2-man disadvantage. Seems impossible right now, and Gade is going to get good timing, finds the 1 kill on Derez, which is more than enough right now for OpTic. And it just becomes a case of closing the round out now on the CT side and making sure they don't lose too many guns. A good, straightforward kill for Yugi. Easy done for him. And Snappy getting all that information in mid. They know exactly where Draken is.
NiP needs to go away from this kind of spread out the theoretical attack onto Inferno, trying to get map control, trying to kind of slowly progress into a bomb site. They need to just stay grouped. They need to get into a bomb site, make an execute, make some kind of a timing contact play, maybe towards that A bomb site, so you don't have that long route of Banana to kind of battle against all the utility. But get into a site, force these double ops, force one of the ops into a retake scenario. Just play the trade game and execute onto the A bomb site. I think is going to be the answer that we'll see maybe work out for NiP, but certainly something they have to try at some point. They're just losing far too many players before executing what they want.
Well, probably not this round, as it's just going to be the pistols out for NiP. OpTic looking very, very good here on Inferno. Definitely did not expect this earlier on this morning. We were talking about how NiP were probably the favorites. Well, now it's looking like OpTic are really poised to actually knock NiP out. That'd be pretty shocking. Right now, though, NiP, they've still got time to play with, but it is running out. Setting themselves up for a little something over on the A-bomb site. The flashbang goes across from Dennis. It allows Get Right out into brackets. Past that, no control of the map for NiP.
One smoke, one flashbang for the Ninjas. Where does Get Right want to place his? It looks like they almost wanted to wrap out towards Longo right against that AWP. The smoke is going to go down. That's what it's designed to do. Maybe a B split coming in. The problem is Rez would be all alone with that bomb. Yugi's blocked off. Snappy peering back towards CT spawn just to make sure that wrap is not going to be too effective. That's exactly what's coming through and right through the smoke. It just keeps getting worse for NiP. Forrest going to try and cheat through, and he has made the progress, but Cajun B watching his back. Yugi goes down, run and gun from Get Right, and the bomb is sneaking around to this A bomb site. But he's got 2 M4s to deal with, and Gade is going to lock things down. Great shot from Get Right, but so much more to do, and Cajun does not let him recover.
As soon as that bomb goes down for NiP, they feel as though the round is almost over, but then Gade doubles up, and that essentially puts the nail in the coffin for NiP, and that one wasn't necessarily a terrible strategy from NiP. You could see what they were trying to go for there. It's just in the end, OpTic had enough players and enough skill to deal with it. NiP now, though, with the buy through.
There's two things they could have done. They could have condensed and done just an execute onto an A bomb site or on one of the bomb sites like I just mentioned the previous round, or they give Draken a chance to challenge against these ops. This is the first time he's had this weapon in his hands in this half. We'll see what he's got. He's really got to neutralize Yugi, going to go aggressive, feeling confident. Molotov forces him away. Draken looking for a mid pick that doesn't come. They've already used that boost, so OpTic not going to go back to it this quickly. And how do you get the Opera in position? We know it's difficult to wield on the T side, and actually OpTic have a great read on this scenario. 3 players cheated over towards that B bomb site.
As soon as NiP do get control of Banana, OpTic very well aware of what's going on, and we spoke about how that one round for NiP was the round that they did get control of Banana. Well, they've done that again, and the win condition, I suppose, is to get that, but even past it, still there's a lot of work to be done as OpTic set themselves up very, very nicely. They've still got a lot of information. They're playing quite forward on the A bomb site. They're not hidden in the site itself. So they know what's going on right now, and Gade, he almost looks like he wants to rotate across right now as we see a lot of utility coming into the B side here for NiP, but 3 to deal with, and Config opening things up. Cajun, not checked, will find a double kill. This is all falling apart right now for NiP. They're trying to get into either side, and neither is being given an option as OpTic just completely decimate them on that B site.
That third player was huge, quite obviously. Snappy with a kill, Cajun with 2 boosted up, but it was the counter utility coming out from OpTic. As soon as NiP tries to execute onto that B bomb site, Flashbang's Molotov goes down to delay. That means that NiP has to re-smoke towards CT spawn. That's the only one they had. The one towards Coffins was clearing out. The flashbangs they threw were not effective because they were delayed for so long after throwing them. Just the 1 kill from Config with that AWP inside the bomb site allows Cajun to get that double kill. NiP another timeout as they are stumped and they are on the verge of getting just deleted out of this tournament.
Yeah, this is crazy compared to what we saw yesterday where NiP really showed a lot of fight against SK. It was backwards and forwards for the entirety of the map, but right now they're just being completely steamrolled, and it's not really down to the economic game like it was on Mirage. We've seen a lot of gun rounds out from NiP. It's just they've just not been able to get into either of the sites, and they've not been even able to do anything against OpTic. Look at how much money OpTic has got right now. They're just having no problems across the board.
Yeah, their bank has hit a critical mass on that defensive side. Yugi with 13,000. You got Config with 10,000. Everyone else has at least 1 buy behind them no matter what. So there's just so much money that NiP, and when you struggle to get even a second round on the board, how are you going to win 2 or 3 in a row to take the economy away? There's a good start. OpTic didn't necessarily need to take that risk. They switched things up, allow Yugi to get aggressive through a smoke, no less.
Yeah, Yugi just trying to push the issue there, which I think is fair enough when you're up 9-1, really try and stamp your mark on the match. If you do end up losing this round as a result, there's still heaps of cash for OpTic to play with, but maybe that's the little needle in the haystack that NiP need to get their way back into this map. Let's see what they can do. Gade almost shuts down 2, but he has to fall off into pit, and he still has more ahead of him. Actually finds the second kill before going down. It's not going to be enough, though, as Forrest cleans up 2 for himself, and NiP will get the bomb down. Config has been so solid with that AWP so far, but in a 1 versus 3, probably better off just to save it.
We're going to have that conversation till the end of time. Don't fix what isn't broken. I mean, look at the amount of kills on the NiP side. Doesn't even feel that strong. They're not even having impact individually. If Yugi's going to give one away like that, NiP can take advantage of it. As much as they struggled in the 5 versus 5, you give them that man advantage and they just blow up out onto that A bomb site and trade 1 kill on Gade in the pit. He even gets a double kill and they still can't manage it. Force takes a couple duels in the open, which he loves. Config, yeah, there's a lot of money. You don't need to be going for this. No scope right to the chest of Force. Goes for the follow-up. Draken cannot lose this. This actually isn't bad whatsoever from Config. He's going to cause both of them to blow up, or at least one. Draken goes down. Rez, is he going to go for that AWP? Do they want it that badly? And they do, but he's not going to have the time. That's a huge play from Config.
Yeah, actually no AWP going to be able to be purchased here for NiP. So a lot of damage done there. And OpTic, of course, they have heaps of cash. The double AWP is going to come straight back out, even though they lost all 5 of their players. Even enough money to fight through in the next round as well here for OpTic if things don't go incredibly poorly. So it's still a tough ask here for NiP. Down 9-2. If they get reset here, you can think about how big the rest of this half is going to be for OpTic. I mean, they're poised to get 11, 12 rounds.
And we'll see. They have to stop NiP from building upon this. Yes, the economy is strong, but you never know what 1 round win can ignite. NiP still have a chance to get up towards 5. If they're really fortunate, they get up towards 6, and all of a sudden that's a solid T-half. After such a long period of dominance, if you're an OpTic fan, you're just hoping it doesn't slip away off the back of that 1 loss. You're also praying that Yugi doesn't make any more plays through the smoke. We'll see. Gade and Yugi going to be on that side. They're going to go for another boost down towards mid. Draken's here. No AWPs. Just got to try and spot it out. And there's the kill. Headshot onto Draken. Yugi's down to low HP, but Get Right lurking out with the UMP. He does it again. The speed, the pace. That's going to secure the round. These 3 players from OpTic just have to save, and Dennis is already on the hunt.
OpTic had absolutely no idea there, and Config, well, he's still a little bit interested, but this is going to be his undoing. Dennis round the back, and that's exactly what Get Right did as well. So NiP, well, being a little bit sneaky there. I don't even know if it was necessarily too sneaky. I think Get Right was just charging on through the apartments there, but no one had any idea, and so...
It's probably also relatively calculated of NiP, and especially Get Right, a guy who's known to have a very good read of the game and a very good understanding and also great memory building through one half. Is they've seen multiple times OpTic having this presence, 3 players at the B bomb site very early on. So Get Right's pushing in towards halls, and when that boost comes in to kill Draken, who calls it out, he picks up the pace and he gets out of those halls before that OpTic can fall back, before those 2 players, I think it was what, Yugi and Gade, before they could fall back and really situate themselves in a defensive stance in pit and in the A bomb site, and really just secures the round for his team with those 2 kills.
Snappy's going to grab the AWP here as well as soon as that bomb goes off, and that will allow the double AWP to come through again for OpTic. A lot of money still there for Cajun, but 9-3. NiP have been given an opening. The door has just creaked a little bit ajar here for them. This Get Right. What a monster. Just flying out from the balcony.
This is NiP's last time out of the half. They've used all 4 here trying to recover from just a terrible start on this T side, and it makes sense. It's actually critically important because despite everything, they've given themselves a window of opportunity. They found a couple answers. They were given a gift by Yugi in one round. Get Right makes a massive play in the next one. If they want to stay alive in this map, they need to continue this kind of success, build upon it. If they get up towards that 5 or 6, they're going to be feeling so good about this half despite everything.
Yeah.
So it makes a lot of sense for them to have used all their timeouts and really kind of depleted them for the second half and overtime, but you need to at least give yourself the opportunity.
It's first half now, kind of at the tipping point where OpTic, if they end up winning this round or the next couple, it's really where we sort of expect it to be. But NiP, they still have, like you've said, that chance to come back into the half and come back into the map. Double nade out from OpTic. That does a lot of damage over to Draken, and Yugi changing his position up. Whoa! Oh my god! Oh, jeez.
What is that?
I've never seen that before.
I'm hoping it was his plan to stomp on the top of that half wall, because that is incredible. I don't think Rez even knows what hit him. A really nice find. The Danish teams love innovating, and that is a cool way to run boost.
Oh, well, I'd love to see a little bit more of that. That could be like that's the next step up for Counter-Strike. You see some crazy stuff like that more and more often. In the end, I don't know if it's going to be enough, though. OpTic, they've still lost control of Banana, and being forced back into the B bomb site is Yugi, taking an aggressive line. He'll be shut down, and for all the heroics, for all the fun, the Superman action, OpTic look to be bowing out of this round regardless.
Get Right. Just the typical lurk out of him. Exactly how he's built his career. 2 kills over towards that A bomb site. While the action happens towards B, and Snappy's got to give it up again. Very cool run boost, but unfortunately does not yield a win. Forrest gets the rebuttal. 2 kills of his own to enter into that B bomb site to really even the scores, and it's going to be 9-4. NiP, they were looking down and out of this fight, but they've won 3 in a row with 3 bomb plants. They've been finding their way into the bomb site recently.
Yeah, this puts OpTic in a really weird position as well, economically speaking. They could buy through into the next round. It's not going to be a perfect buy, but that could ruin their economy for the rest of the half. So some decisions to be made here for OpTic, and still the possibility for them to close this half out with a really strong scoreline. But if they only manage that 9, they'll be feeling a little bit disappointed. And let's have a look at this again. Why not?
Yeah, he definitely meant to land up there.
Like, what is going on here?
Oh, that's gorgeous. Well, the money that was looking so strong for OpTic is pretty much all gone. Config and Yugi down at around 200, Snappy even less than that. It's not looking great. OpTic has got to feel that sinking feeling in the pit of their stomach. Nice opening from Draken, and the response from Yugi towards those halls. The equalizer on to Get Right, so a 4-on-4 situation.
Just the one player, though, over on the B bomb site right now, and Config under so much pressure. He gets the incendiary down, but I'm not sure that's going to help him out too much. The flashbang in. He needs to find at least a frag here, but he can't manage it. Dennis will survive by the skin of his teeth, but that's more than enough. NiP now with control of the B bomb site. OpTic, a player disadvantage. Admittedly, a lot of utility to work with here for OpTic, but they just can't afford to go for a retake with their economy like this.
No, you want to have one last buy if you're OpTic. You want to keep these guns alive. Remember, because of the money that they built up in that 6-round streak, they've never had to save in this game. So giving up this round here, once again, they're going to have a pretty strong buy in the next. The FAMAS, the AWP, the M4 probably drop maybe a UMP, maybe another FAMAS on the board, but still, they've never had to go back towards the pistols, and it's a testament to NiP, the experience of these players being able to grind this out in such a losing effort, down 1-9 at one point, now winning 4 in a row to breathe some life back into this map.
I feel as though it has been brought back from the dead for NiP. Even 5, it's better than what we would have expected out of them, 10 minutes ago, I would even say. So there's a possibility that they can come back into this one. We saw them come back from a deficit against SK yesterday.
Yuki's taken that peak a couple times. I think that's the 3rd time he's done it, and it finally nets himself a kill with it. And yeah, a solid buy, even better than I expected it to be, as the losing bonus built up really, really nicely. 3 M4s, they have full utility, full kits. So OpTic has had a great half in terms of having enough money to give themselves chances. Yugi standing in the flames, trying to get just one shot, and he's going to pay for it with about 40% of his HP. A follow-up smoke and nade as well. Almost takes his life, just barely able to get out. And this is an NiP that now has the nades and utilities to mitigate the damage from those ops, not letting them find those opening picks, not letting them find success early on any longer.
Bit of aggression, though, into apartments from OpTic, and that has netted them quite a few results throughout this half when it's been the AWP of Yugi. We saw last round. I think that, like you said, was the first time that it worked out for him, but more so I'm talking about the rifles. When they've sent the riflers into apartments, they typically have been able to find an opening pick for the CT side, but NiP not walking into that trap at this point. More interested in mid.
They end up going mid as well. 2 players in these halls. Get right. Is he going to be aware of this? He's going to read this. He peeks it, and yes, he stays on top of it, stays focused. Cajun's going to follow up. The nade is out, but Get Right can't recover in time, and I think NiP just has to let Cajun B fall back. A well-earned equalizer from OpTic.
Well, Cajun B narrowly avoiding the AWP, the sightline of Draken, but smartly into the pit now and establishing a good crossfire on that A side as NiP start to progress here with 30 seconds on the clock. OpTic need to start thinking about floating one of those B players across. 2 players to try and hold the A bomb site. The odds are not so amazing right now for OpTic. They absolutely need those opening picks, and Cajun, he knows that there's someone coming for him. Snappy, he'll spot the first player out, and that's the bomb. So the rotation in now for OpTic Gaming should be coming across. Not enough done, though, by the A holders. And it's a 2 versus 3. NiP will get the bomb down. You get quickly into library, but has to slow down here, and doesn't look like he's going to be able to find a pick. In fact, he himself will be picked.
Desperation for Config, 1 versus 3. You got to go for this one, but Draken's going to seal it, a double kill to end that half. What a recovery from NiP. They looked down and out at 1-9, and they win 5 in a row to end this half to bring themselves up towards 6, and now they have a real fighting chance into this game, and you want to go back to it. That was a dominant OpTic defense up until the point Yugi makes that aggressive play through the smoke in mid, gets picked off, gives NiP a 5-on-4 that they can take advantage of, and they run the tables to end the half.
OpTic Gaming would have been hoping for a little bit more, but we're sitting at the same point that we were after the first half of Mirage, where we were talking about NiP still having a chance. In the end, they didn't end up really doing a whole lot there on Mirage, and it even still could be the same case here for OpTic. If they win that pistol round, which they've been very good at doing so in this match so far, NiP again are going to have to try and claw their way back in.
And if you're just looking at these kill counts on the NiP side, you're probably scratching your head wondering how they got 6 kills. They've only got 1 player in double digits, and that's Get Right at 10. I mean, a lot of those rounds that they won, probably 3 of the rounds that NiP was able to win, OpTic makes the smart and wise decision to preserve the economy of saving 2 or 3 players alive into the next round. So NiP just didn't have as many kills as they would have liked to get on the board, but that's the crazy thing is OpTic never once, they win the pistol round, they never had to save throughout that half. They had so much money built up that even during that 5-round streak, OpTic was able to keep the coffers flowing and refilling with that losing bonus. A really nicely done defensive half from them, but still, I mean, to only get away with 9 after such a dominant performance has got to be scary. Forrest gets caught out in the open. Dennis gonna go back, take a couple shots, try and find the evening kill, but it's not gonna happen.
Response from NiP as they push down Banana, and the shooting gallery will present itself once again. OpTic, they just smash away with those B defenders, and this looks like it's going to be 4 from 4 for OpTic, 100% conversion rate on the pistols. When you really add them up, that's quite a lot of free rounds.
Now this has been great from OpTic on the pistols, and even Config looking like he's going to build. He has the angle, Get Right jumping out, not able to find that kill, and that's awkward.
That's never fun, is it? When you run out of ammo and then...
Even Config's laughing. He's just like, yeah, whatever.
I mean, it wouldn't have made much of a difference regardless, but yeah, it's not good. Anyway, up to 10 for OpTic, and they'll have the buy through here. NiP looks like the force is coming through. They did win a force buy on Mirage on their second round pistol.
This has been tough, you're right. I mean, all these pistols, this has just been a deep hole that NiP's had to climb out of every single map. They've been playing from behind the majority of both of these games. Here comes OpTic, slowly working the way up mid. Snappy and Yugi want to get involved in the action pretty early on. They want to make sure, force some of those smokes out if they have it. Snappy's going to be aggressive, loses that to Draken with the 5-7. Don't see that too frequently, and still the smokes are held on to from NiP.
Yeah, so OpTic now with the player disadvantage, some thinking to do. Don't want to be losing the next player, otherwise then things might start to go a little bit bottoms up, but can easily be stabilized by OpTic here. And Draken, though, with that 5-7, can't get anything done this time, at least he's forced back. NiP playing this one quite nicely, really making OpTic try and figure out where they're holding from. They're not giving away any free kills, which is really good to see, and they're putting a lot of pressure on OpTic right now. It's a 1-for-1 trade. Still player advantage here for NiP, and GetRight gets himself another one. Oh, it's all going bottoms up. OpTic have got 2 players left alive versus 4, and GetRight watching the perfect angle, gets a big chunk of damage over to Config. Will go down, but even still, you'll be happy with that if you're NiP.
OpTic has no idea that the B defense is evacuated and gone over towards this A bomb site, so they're going to slow play this in library. They don't want to work their way over towards that bomb site. It's going to leave Forest all alone in pit. CZ, 25 HP. How does he peek up? Can't get the dink. There's the kill, and actually, again, NiP just rotated out of position. Yeah. Dennis and Rez both over in Banana. And that's going to give the plant over, and now OpTic can somehow recover from this round. It looked like it was going to be a disaster.
That was a really important passage of play for NiP. If they would have kept those players, or at least even another player on the A site, would have had a bit of a better time, but still possible for NiP to make something happen. Here is Dennis, charges and gets the full HP player on gate, and, well, Rez is there for the trade. So, a very nicely executed retake by NiP. They just do it perfectly, and OpTic, they drop another round on the anti-force.
Well done from NiP, really holding on to that wrap side as OpTic kind of slowly works their way up one by one, and maybe even a team of 2 towards the end. And finally some smiles coming out of the NiP side of things. You see Drake in there with a little bit of a grin. Not out of it just yet. Another purchase coming in from OpTic. 2 AKs, a Galil, some Deagles, so investing right back into things. Yugi gets so blind by GetRight, he's actually spraying into the ground. Nice use of utility from the NiP side. They've got a lot of rifles, 2 SMGs to play with. They're going to have to fight for this round, though.
Yeah, this is going to be a bit of an interesting one, isn't it? Let's see what these guys on OpTic can do.
It's going to have to be straight heads-up fight at some point for OpTic. They're going to rely on Config to take a duel, and actually he wins that initial one. Rez slowly coming around the corner, not expecting the AK-47 perhaps, but that's a good find because there's not a lot of nades left on OpTic's side to really work with. You can't do a whole lot tactical. You're going to have to trust in your stars to find you some kind of an opening, and Config has done just that.
Good work from Config, and he chucks the AK over to one of his teammates as well, knows that he's down quite low. Actually, in the end, does get the AK back. Not sure what's going on there. Might have been Rez's AK. Anyway, there's 3 now for OpTic. And they're hidden behind the smoke. This is like classic Inferno.
Just waiting for that B smoke to fade. They've got 2 smokes. They can do the coffin and the CT spawner. I think that's what's going to happen. There's a flashbang over from GetRight. He sees the smoke coming out, playing behind one of his own. That's going to fade soon. It fades now. He's fortunate to get away. Now the high HP players are swinging. He can get nothing done. Dennis is left with it all. Config's going to lead the way with low HP. He's blind. There's the peek from Dennis. He's missed Config, and he can't find the kill. Somehow this is going to work out for OpTic, and again, much like Mirage, NiP's going to win the second, and OpTic with a chance to steal back in the third.
Certainly looks like they're going to be able to steal it back as well. Yugi, he does drop to Forest, not getting the spray across. 3 low HP players here for OpTic. I'm not sure the info is there for NiP, but they certainly will be aware at least that some of them are quite low. Volley coming in, and Config will not necessarily burn alive, but still dies. Now into the 2v2, you actually favor NiP here. Gade hits a very important shot, though, and Forest needs to come away with 4 kills in the round. It's going to be Gade, though, to close it out. Great work from him, and he's actually had some pretty good rounds here on Inferno, getting some important ones for OpTic. And now NiP, they're back to the drawing board.
OpTic a lot of faith in someone like Config to provide them the opening kill, and he does just that. Even gets the follow-up into the B bomb site as he kind of snuck past Dennis's vision during the confusion of that hit towards the B bomb site. Small note there as well. Rez goes down with that peek towards the half wall, and he actually dropped the smoke as well. That gave OpTic one more piece of utility they could use to hit that B bomb site. So just a nice little gift provided them. And then NiP again gonna have to try and win with CZs and 2 deagles.
Yeah, so the investment again from them. And OpTic, again, just playing very passive on this T side initially. They're not doing anything too crazy. They're not trying to take control of Banana early on in the piece. They're just setting up default and seeing if NiP is going to give themselves any room to work with. Not the case in this round, but it's always nice to play safe.
Early smoke used by Dennis in mid. Not really doing a whole lot to delay, as OpTic didn't look like they wanted to progress across the map at that point whatsoever. Now they can start pressuring again. Smoke towards Rap side, and NiP throws one towards lane, allowing them to have brackets, but containing them there. But still very slow and measured from the Danish side.
Solon said he wins the race. Or so they say. 45 seconds left here for OpTic, and that's still plenty of time to work with. Plenty of utility, a lot of smokes, a lot of mollies out there as well. So they should have no problems getting into this A bomb site if they end up using that utility, but just dry peeking here, and that gives the opportunity over to Forest. He doesn't manage to land either of those shots. Had he done, it might have been cause for concern for OpTic, but now Dennis, 2 kills with the CZ, does almost get the reload across. In fact, he does, but he can't connect the shots. And OpTic, they steamroll their way into the A bomb site, but a couple of shots that would have gone the way of NiP, that could have really gone their way. In the end, OpTic, though, get it with 3 kills, or 3 players left alive, I should say.
NiP did pretty much everything they could. They had exactly what they wanted. OpTic ran into a 3-man stack. 3 different angles you have to worry about. Dennis gets the only 2 kills. Just maybe one from Forrest and Pitt or the other player inside the bomb site, and that could have turned the head. There was a 4th player at the A bomb site on Rap side. Wasn't able to get anything done either, so it all just kind of collapses around that success from Dennis. And OpTic will sustain. They'll win 2 in a row. It'll be 12-7. Rez gonna try and take some of these guns away right at the end for the bomb explosion. Cajun's watching this, and he spots it out and taps away.
Yeah, nice kill out from Cajun. He's been, I think, very quiet. Like, okay, that's probably not fair to say. He hasn't been quiet, but the manner in which he's managed to get all these kills, like he was sitting at the top frag actually on the first half. I don't know if you noticed. Now he's been eclipsed by Config, but he was doing really good work on the first half. It just wasn't anything fancy, but he was getting the job done, and it was really cool to see for OpTic.
Even his time in some of the previous Danish lineups, he's never been like the loudest player, so to speak, on those teams, has he? He's gotten, you know, the kills that's needed from him. He's done just enough. He's played his role very admirably, and he's always been a pretty consistent rock that you can kind of rely on to get the impact when you need it most. Config gonna duel away against the USPs towards top mid, and that one's going to be easy, and he's loving this. Now he wants to start deathmatching. He doesn't spot Dennis's push. Meanwhile, OpTic is going to take this B bomb site. NiP has kind of given it space. They just don't have anything to really fight with, and this should be around for OpTic, as with the bomb site taken, with no flank coming in for NiP and 3 USPs here, it's just a matter of finding these final kills for OpTic.
Yeah, can't really count on much coming out from the USPs. It's an easy round for OpTic, up to 13 now, and it's starting to look a bit worrisome for NiP. I thought coming into today they would be a shoo-in to close this match out, but OpTic are really showing a good performance here. This is, well, the last map that they won was the first map that they've actually won with this roster, and now they might be able to put 2 on the trot at pretty much the best possible time. If not, they were facing elimination. Now, it's NiP, in fact, who are facing elimination.
And recall this as well, NiP has no timeouts left. They used all 4 to make that small comeback in the first half to give themselves a chance, and you can't even really fault them for it, down 9-1 in a couple rounds where they just knew they had to continue to build upon just what little success they had. Here, NiP has to do everything on the fly. They've got to figure it all out with no extra time to kind of discuss what they're seeing. And if they do make a comeback and get into overtime, they'll have no timeouts for that. Well, we don't have to get there quite yet. It's still a long ways away, obviously. And a 3-man stack for NiP towards the lane side or diggity of this A bomb site.
Love it.
Resin, get right far away over at B. Yeah, that was for you.
Thanks. Big stack though, yeah, from NiP. Not something you see too often, but might be just enough of a change-up that OpTic aren't necessarily aware of it. However, it could well go awry here for NiP if we just see that side smoked off. Although, see what OpTic do decide to do. It looks like they might actually be progressing through that part of the map, judging by the utilities that have been thrown out, and this is going to work out nicely for NiP. It's a 1-for-1 trade, but Dennis here in the boiler is able to find another one, and Forest still locking down the angle in towards Pit and the cross onto the site. OpTic have just walked right into that trap. Gade does get rid of Dennis though and brings it back to a 2v3. Still workable for the T side.
Snappy's probably wishing he had a rifle of some sort. The MAC-10 in Pit doesn't exactly make for the most dangerous weapon. He's got to run the gauntlet at some point. No more utility for OpTic, and he's got to get into that bomb site to get the plant. Gade's going to help him do just that. He's got to go into the bomb site. They do not have lanes secured, and that's going to leave both players trapped for this retake. NiP using all their nades as they come in. Forrest can't find the kill. It takes him a little bit of time. Gade's still alive, but too many angles to check. So NiP do survive with that nice stack. It does its job.
Yeah, pretty critical round out there for NiP, but I gotta say at this point, every single round for them is gonna be pretty critical. And they do save 3 guns through, but still their money is not amazing. OpTic are gonna be able to get a buy through, and this is still dangerous territory for NiP. If they drop this one, that might be 2-0 up for OpTic.
I mean, this is the danger of NiP. Not only do they have to win these rounds, but they have to win some pretty convincingly. That was a good start with 3 surviving in that victory. I think they even brought the Op over into the next round, but they have to be able to build up some money. They cannot let OpTic have them at that kind of reset point, because a reset here for NiP would be a disaster. They really need to build up some bank to sustain losses. And look how passive OpTic is being right off the start. Snappy still all the way back towards T-spawn.
This is fairly standard from what we've seen from OpTic. They haven't been so aggressive on Inferno. They were doing it quite a lot on Mirage.
What a contrast from their highly fast, aggressive offense on Mirage.
It's a little bit of a change up, but it's working okay for OpTic right now, so can't complain too much.
It's funny, it's almost like they have like an idea of how to play their offense based off their own defense, right? With the double ops that we saw peeking down Banana, peeking down mid, you know, with Yugi and Config with those AWPs. They're trying to prevent themselves from taking damage, but NiP only 1 op on the board and not even really being that aggressive.
Not at all. Again, utility into the A-bomb site here for OpTic. It's a much different setup though for NiP this time. That might be the opening for OpTic that they do need, although Forrest, I think he might have just spotted the bomb there. In fact, the rotation is definitely coming across from the B bomb site. Not that it's necessarily needed right now, as NiP are holding strong on A. And Cajun and Config, who stuck themselves in separate situations. They need to win the 1v1s, and only one of them is going to go their way. Config will also drop. So NiP, they put 2 on the board, and a really critical 2 as well, as that does at least sort of avoid the immediate reset and gives them a chance to come back into this.
You've got to love the way Forrest handled that execute. He sees the wall of smokes coming. He knows that it's usually for players to come out of those A-halls, finds that corner in the smoke, and he's even able to transfer over towards lane very quickly to find a quick kill. Almost able to build upon the 3rd, but he's got that really awkward off angle that OpTic just didn't expect coming through their own smokes. 9-13, 1 more buy for NiP to burn through on this T side. Nades down to the base of Banana does massive damage. That is a great start to the round for NiP.
Yeah, but OpTic this time, they've changed things up a little bit. Very aggressive into Banana, but punished a little bit for it by those grenades. So we'll see what happens next round. Have to keep an eye on when they get their next gun round, if they're going to make a change up again and go back to that slow play.
Well, NiP noticed the change as well. Dennis has come over towards this B bomb site. 3 players defending here for NiP. That smoke in the choke point going to neutralize the 2 smokes that OpTic just threw out. They don't want to go through that, not with 1 minute and 15 seconds left in this round. Config risks the gap that he didn't know was there, and he's going to get across, but all of OpTic now falling back towards the B bomb site. But NiP, they're keeping this 3-man stack really, really strong. Draken has that angle towards top mid, so he knows that no one is aggressing towards A.
OpTic just quite content to sit behind this smoke, but it is going to be fading shortly. Now the incendiary's out from NiP, and, well, there's a player through. Not sure who it is. Config actually getting into CT spawn here, and let's see what kind of work he can do, because this is the make or break for OpTic Gaming, and get right. Oh, that was close. He goes down there, which he does in the end, actually, from Spam, but Rez coming up with the goods. 2 men getting sprayed down. Still NiP need to retake the site 2v2. The incendiary in will force Rez off, or rather, Yugi. But in the end, he's going to be alive and kicking. And NiP tasked now with a very tough retake, no more utility to play with. An AWP there as well for Draken might not be the ideal weapon. And Cajun with an off angle, this is going to catch Forest off guard for sure. A little bit cheeky on the trigger finger there, though, does give the opportunity over to NiP now as the frags do come out. And NiP, they secure a retake, put themselves on 10.
Cajun jumped the gun. He must have seen an elbow or a shadow and thought it was going to be the peak and gives up his position. Nice kill from Draken over into the bomb site coming over from Ruins, and we're going to get the first time out of OpTic. They had an easy time in the first half, and this will be their first one used.
Probably a discussion about whether or not they should buy here.
I mean, you think about that retake, a 2-on-2. I was looking at the money of NiP and how desperate a situation. I mean, we mentioned Rez yesterday. Big impact player for NiP on this map against SK. Delivers the goods again there on the defense. But everyone from NiP was below $1,500 and that retake was coming in and still not going to have great money. So with the plan, I think OpTic's going to go for a buy here. They want to keep the pressure on this economy still with 3 rounds to play with. This feels like the kind of team that is going to keep that pressure up.
I don't see why there's any reason that you wouldn't here if you're OpTic Gaming. Obviously, like you said, they've got those 3 rounds to play with. They're going to be able to get 4 AKs out. Well, actually, probably only 3. Depends whether or not Gade wants head armor, but I suppose he does.
Go for a half buy, so it's a nice little middle ground.
Yeah, I guess. And they can still do damage. This is something that we were talking about yesterday as well, I think, in that best of 3 that we casted, where it was, do they force buy or do they just go for that pistol armor buy and just try and do damage to the economy? Well, this might not in the end actually hurt OpTic Gaming too much. If they can get 2 or 3 kills out of this, they've still done well.
They're going to test the B bomb site again, though. They're going to test it with a B rush. Get Right and Rez need to be on top of their game. Utility being used. Get Right misses that flashbang. Not a good start. Got to drop the Molotov. Sees so many bodies. That's delaying. Taking this duel, it can be dangerous. Holding on, and he's going to drop the smoke. So the rush doesn't work out, but Get Right's still getting tagged up out in the open. He's going to give it up. So OpTic applied some pressure. And actually, I think they're just going to stick around, go towards this B bomb site, because Dennis almost has to stay here. Get Right and Rez have used all of their nades. Rez has 1 smoke, but Molotovs, flashbangs have been used to stop that rush.
The interesting thing to note, though, for OpTic is they still have 3 smokes here. So a lot of options available for them.
Cajun and Snappy, I think, just checking the flanks, making sure they're not getting pushed down from mid. And also, this kind of slowdown and this silence across the map has made Dennis feel a bit nervous. Last round, we saw them with the read of this similar situation. Dennis stuck at the B bomb site. Now he's second-guessing it. Draken was in a similar position as well, so they had the knowledge of top mid. They have it again here, but they're making a different read, a different call. Get Right and Rez are about to have a lot of pressure put on them with these mobile CZs.
30 seconds on the clock now as well for OpTic Gaming. They don't have much time, but very well and truly set up, ready to hit this B site. And the rotation not anywhere nearby for NiP. It's going to take them a long time to get across the B here. So it's going to be make or break whether these B site holders can manage to hold onto the site safely. Rez opening up nicely for NiP. The kill's just not coming out fast enough for OpTic. And in fact, not at all. In the end, Yugi does find Rez, but the damage is too much for OpTic to deal with here. Bomb might be able to go down, but still a 2 versus 3. And OpTic needs a big individual step up here from Yugi, most likely, although Cajun has found himself an M4 now as well. And this is starting to look a little bit worrisome for NiP. They do lose Draken. Rap coming in from Banana, but Cajun B stepping up with 3 kills in this round, and just 1 more to find. NiP, they surely do not want to lose this round here, as that would be very detrimental to their comeback. And Forest tasked with the 1v2, doesn't have a lot of time to play with. He knows the positioning of Cajun and now the second player, but there's just too many angles to look at. And 14-10 up now for OpTic Gaming, and NiP, that is not a round that you can afford to lose.
We mentioned Cajun being quiet, not always the flashiest player, but delivering when called upon, and he does it here again. Salvages the M4. Even all put together, a decent hold from Rez and Get Right, considering they had no nades and they had all the smokes coming over. They get 2 initial kills. Draken gets lucky through the smoke with an op shot, but Cajun takes over from there, picks up that M4, delivers 3 more kills to close things out. That is a beautiful performance, and this is what we mentioned. NiP, not only do they have to win these rounds, but they needed to win them clean, and they didn't do that across 3 rounds. The previous 2 being whittled down to just 2 players surviving in each of their wins, which puts them in a situation where they can only afford pistols. There's not going to be a single rifle on the board this round for NiP, and OpTic once again have taken control before the comeback really gets in full swing.
What a crazy world we live in, where NiP are now on the brink of being knocked out 2-0 by OpTic Gaming, who up until this tournament had not won a map.
Essentially, yeah, I was going to say, essentially a brand new lineup, right?
Crazy. But such is the storyline that's presenting itself. NiP, well, they're not out just yet, but with the pistol and armor in this round, it's a very, very difficult task ahead of them. And they pretty much need this round.
Config's feeling confident. He can just walk up, march up, grab this angle, knows he doesn't have the AWP to worry about, knows likely it's a low buy or a force buy, gonna take that fight. Ooh, but confidence is returned with great damage dealt by NiP. That was Rez to bring Config down to 38. Gonna temper him a little bit.
Still a lot to play with though for OpTic. Even despite losing a bit of HP there for Config, they still will be easily able to get some control into Banana here, which has been fairly successful for them. Once they've gotten control of Banana, their hits onto the B bomb site, the conversion has been quite good. And again, that seems to be where they are setting themselves up. Lots of utility to work with, and NiP, for their own right, they have quite a bit, but 50 seconds still to stall. OpTic will be quite content to just wait this out for the moment.
OpTic loving this B bomb site down the stretch, aren't they? This is 3 rounds in a row now they've come here. Get right, this Molotov is going to be so important. Does he get the timing on it? Spam coming through on the other side of the smoke. He's got the lineup to bounce it off the wall. Forrest now starting to rotate over, so is Dennis. They're starting to cheat. This can be a staunch defense for NiP, and boy, do they need it.
Well, it has to be a staunch defense indeed, as Rez might be the first one that is called to arms, and he will find the kill under Yugi, an AK in his hands now as well, and it's going perfectly for NiP. Gade doing his best, but with that smoke, keeps him at bay, and the bomb is in a really awful position right now for OpTic as well. NiP, they've just managed to grasp one away from nothing. Cajun, he's got other ideas, but he doesn't have the time, and he's going to get the kills. He just needs to find this last one onto Drake, and no time available, though, to him. An almost heroic effort, but not quite enough in the end.
Cage is a madman. And actually, that was huge that he gets all those kills. Think of all the free rifles NiP could have had and all the money that would have been behind it. They really, really need to have better discipline in those kind of scenarios. I know it's criticizing them in a winning round, which is great for them to win that to begin with, but oh, they could have had everything. They could have had such a great arsenal moving forward at 14-11, but instead Cajun takes all that opportunity away. They wanted that kill. I guess the one silver lining is that Cajun goes down after the time, so he gets no bonus money. That's not the biggest thing in the world. Snappy on a CZ, Config on a Deagle. So neither team have really a lot of cash built up. This is a great opportunity once again for NiP. Despite all the struggles they've been through in this game, the comeback they had to mount in the first half, the resets they've endured in this half, they still have a chance.
Very important round in the grand scheme of things. It could be the way back in for NiP. As they're still searching for it right now. OpTic very much in the lead, 3 rounds the advantage. And on the T side, they're going to have a lot of buys still left ahead of them here before this map is over. But NiP are grinding hard at this one on Inferno. Like what we saw yesterday, they were down against SK, I think by 3 rounds as well, and trying to hold on here against OpTic. Although the opening to this round has not been so great for NiP. Gade with 2 very nice entries, and Draken, he pretty much needs to get these next 2 frags. In the end, it's not going to go his way, and OpTic surely putting themselves at 15 now, and that will put them onto match point as well.
Oh, this is a disaster for NiP. And once again, you go back, only 1 player survived in the previous round. They're going to have no money. Rez needs to save this M4. Looks like he's getting close enough to maybe get 1 or 2 exit kills, but might not be worth the risk. He's got to fall away now. Get right with the UMP as well. And yeah, this is just such a dire situation looking at the money. Great entries from Gade. And OpTic is able to just march up towards the A bomb, so they put such a heavy emphasis over towards the B side. I don't know if that A defense was really ready for that hit. Caught them off guard. NiP's won 4 of the last 6. But they're going to be, once again, backs against the wall. And this time they don't have any more mistakes to give up. 11-15, NiP has to win 4 in a row, and they've got to do it with very little money. They've already won 2 of these rounds in this half, the second round, and then that just previous one that we saw with the CZs.
But you can't keep relying on rounds like that if you're NiP. Well, they're going to have to rely on it one more time, at least. And that'll just put them back up to 15-12. Still more rounds needed ahead of them, even if they do win the next. But this is potentially the last round that we're going to see NiP play here in Dallas. As if they do lose this one, OpTic Gaming goes through. NiP's knocked out. And that is such a crazy thought that NiP could be knocked out at this point. Very much similar to thinking how SK could have been knocked out at IEM, and in the end they were.
Ooh, Rez playing with fire, spammed through, only takes a little bit of damage, could have been worse. Gonna fall away. This time, NiP is being more aggressive across the map, denying map control. Force is going to challenge over towards A-Halls, gets in a duel with Cajun. He's going to win it with the Deagle. They needed that kill. That's a big, big heavy hitter for OpTic out of the fight. Cajun is 28 and 12. And all that's left is to hit this B bomb site. It's a 4-on-2 here. Great dink on to Get Right, and Rez also low HP, and he's confined by the flames. Get Right gonna get behind the smoke to provide some cover for his teammate, and OpTic gonna back off, but Dennis has them blocked in.
Tense times ahead right now for NiP. Still a very winnable round off the back of the kill that Forest did achieve, and with the positioning here of Dennis, it could all fall apart for OpTic. If the timing is right for NiP and they've rotated that third player over to B as well, OpTic might be walking into a trap here and slowly progressing to their own death, at least in this round. Still work to be done past that by NiP, but an opening kill for OpTic. That's big. Get Right at least able to trade back and hasn't been traded out himself. Eventually he does go down, but 30 seconds on the clock to get the bomb planted here for OpTic. And NiP really putting the pressure on right now as the bomb does go down, but the kills come across for NiP and they survive at least one more round.
Yeah, and so much pressure being applied by Dennis coming up Banana as well. I mean, even if that bomb goes down and they have a little bit more time, they might not even be able to win that. So many different angles NiP was coming in on, and somehow again, they stave off the calamity of elimination, 12-15. Another buy that they have to go through for OpTic. But they've got some money. Now they've got some toys. Now they've got the M4s, the AKs, and all the nades they could possibly need. Kits are going to be on the board, so NiP looking stronger than they have throughout the majority of this half. Great job from Drekken with this Deagle. That kill onto Gate, it even finds the planter. Yugi's completely blind, no chance of recovery for him. Good teamwork, good communication from NiP, all pressuring the B bomb site at the same time.
There are still rounds to play with, though, for OpTic. If they lose this one, they'll get at least another buy through, so they have that to fall back on. And NiP, they don't have any chances left. They can still push us through to the overtime, though. They've had heaps of crazy, crazy rounds here in this map so far. And now they've stabilized a little bit, but the job's not yet over. Can't sleep yet.
This time NiP not challenging for the same kind of control as the previous round. We saw Forrest at the end of Halls take out Cajun. This time he's much more passive in lane, and they've got another 3-man setup to defend against brackets. OpTic. They're going to get Banana for free as Get Right and Rez have basically not challenged that the whole half. If you look, it's not too frequently you see the B defenders with this many nades left just past a minute. 2 Molotovs, 2 smokes, and 2 flashbangs as well. 1 Molotov just used now.
It really feels like the momentum has shifted, at least as far as that B bomb site is concerned. OpTic not getting in there as easily, and perhaps the A bomb site not going to be an easy task for OpTic here either, as Cajun goes down. Draken doing a big amount of work here for NiP in this round. 2 kills already for him, and looking for the third. Doesn't get it, but a lot of damage across from him. And NiP situating themselves in a really, really good spot now. These last 25 seconds of the round, OpTic have a huge amount of work to do.
Forrest and Dennis, they're going to be called upon. 2 of the best players on NiP. Forrest is blind, so is Dennis. A lot of space being made, but Forrest recovers in time, and they handle it perfectly. The flashbang doesn't keep them out of the fight for long enough. 15-13, and NiP have taken the money away from OpTic. It'll have to be a save for that 30th round of this half of regulation.
Oh, we're going to get to see 30. That's fairly likely, at least at this point. I don't want to lock it in.
Let's not do that.
Let's not lock it in. But you'd have to think, in theory, this one should be going to 15-14 at least as NiP face down this eco.
That is a curious play from Gate. I'm not sure if that was the design or miscommunication, but no chance of trading as he comes up mid. Easier for Drekken to build upon that and get the double kill. And it looks like OpTic just want to end this round, get it over with. Get Right and Rez are going to be here through all their utility. They hear the footsteps, nade coming out, spray down from Get Right. Only able to get 1, curiously enough, but the Molotov still holds OpTic at bay. Flashbang is going to delay them a little bit longer. Rez out in the open, should be able to build upon this. A TK comes in, which isn't great, but no big loss. 15-14 now. And OpTic, I imagine they would take a timeout. They've only used 1.
Yeah, it looks like it. They have enough money to buy through pretty much everything they could want here. Unlikely that we'll get an AWP out, I would say, at this point for OpTic. But for NiP, they've got themselves that one onto Draken, and they've got everything, which is definitely a good sign here for NiP, something that they haven't really had.
A turn of fortunes, I think we'll call it. They're going to
Tables have turned.
Yeah, they're not quite sure how to use all these nades. They don't know if they remember how to do it. NiP, maybe one of the few times we've seen them in the driver's seat, and pardon me, this is actually OpTic's third timeout use, not their second. Either way, OpTic is going to have to win this round. They're going to have the AK-47s, but they're going to have to do it with sparse nades. Config and Snappy are pretty well off. Gade, Cajun, and Yugi are hurting in that department, but they've got the weaponry.
All right, well, again, for NiP, this could be the last round we see them play here.
And the switch of the double op setup as well. We haven't seen that out of NiP, so they've got one round to make it work. And it, I mean, why not? Why not? No better round than this. Maybe catch them off guard with the double ops.
Yeah, absolutely. Throw something a little bit different at OpTic Gaming. Maybe they're not going to be ready for it. The flash out, and Rez almost gets the timing shot through the flashbang, but in the end, OpTic unscathed. Now have got control of Banana.
Nice little flashbang to bounce off the top of that wall. Blinding opponents in perfect position. Again, everyone towards this B bomb site. And with Forrest and Draken with this kind of an angle over towards Porch, towards lane side, Dennis is once again going to have that cheat towards the B bomb site. He's about halfway there, but he's second guessing himself. And they did this earlier in the half where Dennis was at the B bomb site. It worked perfectly. And another time where Dennis stayed over towards A and they lost that round. Dennis needs to hustle and get over towards this B bomb site. They have the intel. There's no mid presence. Dennis is still sticking around at A.
More time that OpTic buys there, the longer it takes the CTs on the rotation, given what Dennis was doing. And they've actually hit that bomb site with the perfect timing. It's a 1-for-1 trade so far, and Rez trying to hold on to it, does miss the shot. It looked so close, and this might be NiP bowing out of Dallas now in a 3 versus 4 for the retake on the B bomb site. The chances of this one, minuscule almost for NiP, but they have to find a way to make it work.
Defense caught out in really awkward positions. Get right, not able to put his Molotov down, and he actually backs away in the open, gets pressured, and just burns alive. Nowhere else to go. And yes, now this is such a desperate situation. OpTic may have just done it right at the end. So many advantages for NiP, none of them working in their favor now. Coming through the smoke, it's just not happening. Dennis is going to find one, but he needs to build, and there's Draken with an up shot into a one-on-one, and Dennis, can he do it? Taps the bomb, luring Config into the open, but the information is that the defuse is not happening, and Config is outplayed Dennis, and that's going to be it. OpTic is going to win in the final round, and NiP is going home.
What a massive game out from OpTic, and a perfect time to pull out your first couple of wins as well. It gets rid of NiP out of the tournament. You keep yourself alive here in Dallas, and they're going to be feeling extremely pleased with how that one's gone.
That hurts so much. You have to feel for the Ninjas. They fought so hard in this game, from an atrocious first half into a nice comeback, and even have to grind down those last few rounds. They win 3 rounds that they had to force by CZs and Deagles in that second half, and still can't manage to force overtime to try and take it there. Too slow of starts, but a good heroic effort from NiP.
Yeah, definitely. And, well, NiP's gone from Dallas now, and that means that OpTic continue on forward. That's it from us now, though. We'll go back over to the desk and see what they think of that one.
Thanks very much, fellas. Yes, 9-1 down. The Ninjas do manage to forge quite the comeback, get us to a full 30 rounds of play, but it's just not quite enough. Imagine, had Rez hit that shot, could we be staring down the barrel of overtime? But all the same, OpTic Gaming find some of their very first wins, as Acasta so rightly put, some of their very first map wins. In fact, they were 0 for 5 coming into this one, and now into an offline environment, they managed to get themselves a nice 2-0 in the best of 3.
It's funny what ping differential will do for some players. Wouldn't
turn things around, doesn't it?
Yeah, but look, NiP started this series every single time the game kicked off, every half with their back to the wall, right? They weren't winning any pistols, and that's a huge factor. And then there are other opportunities that they had to capitalize on. That Cajun round over towards the B bomb site, where he's picking up those kills with the M4, winning a round that they should have never had any hope in. That's, for me, the most pivotal round in that whole second map for these OpTic guys. Their CT side, I thoroughly enjoyed their pacing early, right? They were locking down NiP, just going for that default spread, and they were making good mid-round decisions on when to go for peaks, when to go for aggression and take territory. Props to NiP for knowing when they needed to change the pace, because they really capitalized and got 6 rounds on the ball, which is pretty good after that 9-1 start.
NiP going home. Jacob, not something we anticipated. I think, you know, we would throw around conversation in the green room. It would be like, yeah, probably going to be a 2-0. I don't think OpTic would have been at the tip of our tongue for who took it.
No, definitely not. And it's sort of like a sad story with this NiP lineup, because I feel like they're sort of like stagnated for now. It's a team that we had high hopes in when they brought in Draken and Rez, and that's nearly a year ago now at Malmö. I think we saw them the first time, and there was some good signs, and they ended up winning a few tournaments here and there and actually getting back to a
Oakland.
decent level. Yeah, Oakland, you know, but it's been a little bit too much hit and miss I don't think we've seen NiP consistently being one of the better teams yet, and I think it's a little bit sad for them that they haven't been able to find that consistency and grind it out.
I'm going to put my hand up here. I had them in my top 6 for this tournament. I thought coming in here, them and Na'Vi, obviously they missed Sydney. I thought they were bigger missions. I thought they could have done a lot of damage in Sydney.
It's because of Marseille, right?
Yeah, like I think, you know, there was really good signs and lots of positive things. But here you could see, especially on Mirage in the first map, some of the calls just seemed a bit flat. It seemed like a team that wanted to brawl a bit more than use the players to their potential, which is kind of, I guess, more of a Dennis play style.
I think they're missing Threat a lot in this this whole new lineup. You know, I think that would be a guy who could help Dennis to form this team and make him a great in-game leader. But I don't know what exactly role Peter has to this lineup, but it doesn't seem like he's utilizing the same timeout technique as Threat is doing. And then again, you know, having Dennis as an in-game leader compared to before where he had Exist, it's just not the same.
I do feel like Dennis's attitude is always going to be more of a kind of can-do, you know, I don't need help, kind of, we've got this next round, kind of not dismissive, but more of a he's strong on his own kind of mindset, as opposed to Exist open to perhaps more and more outside input. But you're right, you know, maybe not utilizing that resource of a coach. I don't know if Peter is standing behind them, he's just not having an opportunity to speak.
Sure, I've spoken to him several times about, you know, kind of what his role in the team is. It's kind of to hold Dennis's hand through this whole in-game leader, you know, progression, and he's going to do more of the demo watching, right? Give them the information. I think more dictating the way the game's played is going to be Dennis's choice, right? It's going to be him seeing what he thinks works best for the team. Now, you look at the players in the roster, they have a lot of guys that are able to brawl, right? It's not like they have anyone that's a designated support player. Everybody can frag and stand on their own 2 feet.
Yeah, I mean, this is what the biggest question, I think, for a lot of people was going to be, which kind of form of OpTic do we get to see? Because, as we said, on paper, it does look like a roster that will eventually be able to find their feet. Probably, you know, in the same category as the initial North, where we were like, oh, maybe they'll get into that grand final by surprise at one point, and we don't know what else to expect. But you know what? They've got hard hitters, and we saw them hitting relatively hard here in our second day in Dallas. A couple of players that stood out, you know, we talked about Yugi and Config. This is quite a scary combination of players when you put them in the server, Jacob.
Definitely, and especially when you have Cajun B showing up as well as he did on Inferno. It's such a great sign to see him coming back into the form that he should be having on pretty much all the teams he's playing in. When he was in Astralis, he was widely considered as one of the most consistent players in the world, and he always, you know, hold up to his own, always putting down 20 frags and being that rock-solid player. And if he can be the same guy in OpTic, having Config and Yugi around him, then that can be really, really scary for the opponents going into the future.
Run boost, by the way, did you catch this? I mean,
Ridiculous.
It's filthy. You're run boosting onto the banana wall. Like, I mean, I know Rez in that scenario just got no-scoped, but even for a fast peek down towards the AWP holding banana.
I mean, the purpose of that run boost was to get him up on the wall and then close down banana. He didn't think he was that close to him, which plays into the fact that Yugi is just an amazing player, being able to adapt, like making such an extraordinary play and then adapting into the play and just no-scoping the hell out of Rez right there. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I'd love to see it from his perspective. I'm sure we'll be able to find that at some point on the internet, just because suddenly a player appears above you and you've died to an AWP. Rather scary stuff. But what was also scary is that the NiP have been eliminated. One of the bigger names so far purged from the Pro League Season 7 finals. We do have an interview standing by, so we can go ahead and hear from the winners. I'm sure they're going to be having a big smile on their face, but the journey is by no means over. We do see a Config standing by with Stunner. Let's see if we can hear what's going down in Chinatown.
I don't know that we're necessarily in Chinatown, Alex, but it was good. It felt good. Either way, what we are standing on is victory ground here for OpTic. They have eliminated the Ninjas of Pajamas here in Dallas. Right away, Config, talk to me about what's on your mind, man.
I'm just really happy that we won the match. We weren't expecting anything, so it's just good for a new team to get some confidence and energy, and that's what we get from winning against NiP.
Well, that's exactly what we'll build up, I suppose. Let's talk a little bit more about this team, though. I think you guys came into this matchup probably a little more so on the underdog side, perhaps even across the entirety of the event. What do you have now to say for that?
I still think we're the underdogs, and we don't really care about it. We just want to win and then get up the rankings and then get the invites for the other tournaments. That's what we're going to play for, and we want to win every single time, so that's what we're playing for.
And that is what it's all about, winning. So you're going to be going on to play the winner of, I believe it is, Liquid and Space Soldiers. Where do you see that one landing, and, well, who do you want to play?
I don't care. We're going to win no matter what's done, and you know it. So Liquid or Space Soldiers, see you tomorrow, I guess.
Yeah, or we'll see you when you see. Wait, we'll see you when we see you. Whatever, Alex, just get us out of here, man.
Yeah, it would be my pleasure. Thank you very much. That's Stunner and Config there. Confident as ever. Also relieved, so not sure how those two combine, but relieved to be able to fight again. And he's saying, looking forward to playing the winner of Liquid versus Space Soldier, which is actually the next game coming up. Before we do take our break and we prepare ourselves for Liquid versus Space Soldiers, I want to talk about none other than ESEA. Have you guys got the fancy hoodies? You got the repping the ESEA hoodies? Yeah.
It's a bit warm to be wearing them.
Yeah, it is 30 degrees outside.
That's where I'm sitting.
Yeah, you're right. But there is air conditioning, and I have seen players donning them as well.
So, Alex, we can do what we always do when we finish these events. We go back to our homes. We think we're going to spend time with our loved ones, and instead we play games with each other. And I think ESEA is the best platform for us to do that on.
Yeah, because what we do, Chad, right, is we go to our browser of our choice, and we type in play.esea.net, and then we install, what's it called? The client, that's it. And then we go ahead and boot her up and play. I've got about 11 RWS.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, played 3 games.
Very decent.
I keep telling you to stop AWPing, but...
I think we all know.
I was told that my entire career as well.
I'm the AWP of the team. Hey, Pimp, I've seen at least 3 or 4 AWP highlights from Jacob Pimp
Many more, yeah.
Yeah, so actually, you know what? That's what you can do. You could be the next AWPer battling versus Pimp. Go to play.esea.net. And if you do really well, you'll end up in the MDL. You can find that nice and easily as well. That is just going to be esea.net/MDL. That's all the good stuff for now. Liquid versus Space Soldiers is coming up next. We get to see how Space Soldiers fare versus an even scarier opponent. It's all coming up after the break, and we'll see you then.